Two other quick ways that I think that we can think about undergraduate education if we don't look at the rankings. One of them is the view of service. We all talk about service learning. We are all every college is very proud about its service learning. I know high school students do a tremendous amount of service in high school. And I can tell you from playing ping pong with some of your high school students that while hitting the ball, they have said, oh yeah, the reason I do all that service is because I was told it would get me into college. And I know that that is one of the things that motivates. Frankly, I think colleges have fallen down here. We have students who have all of this service learning experience. They then come to college, and I think colleges have had a difficult time figuring out how to create service learning experiences that are then college level rather than replicating what the students have already done at the high school level. You know, it's very easy to then send students, you know, back to build another house, back to clean up a park, back to work in another social service agency. I think our challenge is how do we create a college level service experience which is different. Two quick ideas in that regard. One, you know, we have something at the college called the McMaster School for Advancing Humanity, in which students actually spend 6 months together in a learning community with faculty, each working on a service project together for someplace. Actually, most of them are related in other countries. And then they spend 2 or 3 weeks, they travel to the other country and actually do the service project, whether it's in Belize or in Cambodia or Jamaica. There are a whole series of places they've done this. We have actually taken another, we're very proud of that, but we've taken another look and said, you know, that's great, but in order for this to really be integrated into their academic experience, after they come back, we want them now to spend another year thinking about how do I take that experience I had overseas and think about what it means for the different theories and the different areas that I'm studying? How do I take that micro level experience and now apply it to think about macro level policy issues? How does it cause me to think about comparative political systems? How does it cause me to think about, you know, form and function in terms of government? We're just starting this, untested, but I think it's an interesting thought in terms of creating a different college level experience. I have been saying we are about to become the first college in the country, and if I'm wrong and you know of some other college, please correct me, so I'll change it to one of the colleges in the country, to have a student-run nonprofit. And actually I've been saying, in which all of the students who come will be able to participate. I've been saying about to, I really need to change that because yesterday our students were in Columbus, you know, the capital of Ohio, with the Ohio Secretary of State while she signed the incorporation papers for the student-run nonprofit. So it actually now exists. There are actually, there's a board of trustees which has a whole bunch of students on it. It's not controlled by the students, but a lot of students on the board. The entire staff of the nonprofit will be students. They have already decided on what some of their projects are going to be. Actually, the first project is going to be doing microfinance lending in Jamaica. And a number of students have been to Jamaica to start working with a possible partner. What I like about this is it says to students, take your high school experience where you were kind of the frontline person doing service, and now let's think of how we expand on that. How do you then become not just the worker bee, but become the project manager? And then how do you move up in the organization, you know, eventually become the CFO or the executive director or whatever it is of that organization? Again, we'll see how well that works, but it's trying to take service to a different kind of level. One other thought, I know there was a session for student athletes, you know, in terms of NCAA eligibility and things like that. As a Division III school, we have you know, a good share of students who come because they are student athletes and they want to play sports, and that frankly does not distinguish us from many other Division III colleges. I think there's a real step, though, for colleges to make, and that is, you know, part of course, let's be honest, every student who comes to play football, to play basketball, or whatever it is, those are the last 4 years of their lives that they're playing those sports, right? I mean, there is no expectation, that they are now that the NFL is about to call or the NBA or whatever it is. So we have a real responsibility to help them transition from the playing field and from seeing themselves as athletes to also seeing themselves as students. And one of the things we've started doing, and again, I'll have to come back in a few years if you want me to see if this has worked or not. We have faculty and coaches now working with each other to try to identify, when a student, let's say, take football as the example. You're playing football, you are actually learning a whole series of analytical skills in terms of how to assess the environment around you, in terms you're doing decision tree analysis without actually really thinking about it. You're actually doing strategic planning. We are trying to identify in each sport, in that sports strategy, the different analytical skills that the players need to use so that we can then make those explicit to the players and say, okay, now take that, and now this is how you apply that framework to chemistry. And this is how you apply that framework to creative writing. And we have started having some pretty interesting conversations among faculty members and coaches with that as the goal. Frankly, I think it's going to take us years, if we ever succeed in terms of being able to make that a seamless kind of relationship. But what strikes me is if you look at all these things, if you look at the personal attention, and I've been seeing some heads nodding, I think those are because you think some of these are good ideas, not because you're trying to keep from falling asleep, but if it's the latter, that's okay too. You look at all these things, whether it's the personal attention, whether it's having the more hands-on, stopping the dichotomy of theory and practice, whether it's the different view of service, whether it's the athletic academic integration. How many of those get reflected in the rankings? 0. And frankly, no matter how US News would ever change the rankings, there would be no way that you could reflect them because they are much more individual. They are much more qualitative rather than quantitative. I think this is a really important issue for all of us to work on together because I really do think it gets to this notion of excellence versus exclusivity. I think that college presidents, I think we need to stand up and say, hey, look, we need to focus on excellence and let's not worry about the exclusivity part. But the truth is the fact that you're not exclusive should not be a bad word. I mean, the whole idea of education is to open doors of opportunity. And I don't think we should be measuring ourselves by how well we keep people out. I think we should be measuring ourselves by how well we help those who are then able to come in. And actually, as colleges, I think we should be trying to admit more students, even if that does mess up our selectivity and our acceptance rate. And let me end by telling you, I don't know if you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about this. And I think there's a reason for that, and it's kind of related to my own personal story. My mother was born in Germany. We're Jewish. She was born a Jew in Nazi Germany, just as Nazism was starting. One of her first memories as a 5-year-old was standing on the playground in kindergarten and having all of the students form a circle, but they would not let her in because she was Jewish. And actually, not only would the students not let her in, but the teachers were standing there encouraging the students not to let her in, right? This was just as Nazism was, gaining some of its virulence, and she was lucky enough to be able to escape, and she was lucky enough to be able to come to the U.S. and to be able to climb that ladder of education, and I was able to climb that ladder of education, and I was able to say, when I was inaugurated as a president of Defiance College this past October, one of the things I said was, it is a tremendous reflection of education that I could stand before you now as president of Defiance College, a Jewish fellow married to a Lutheran woman who was the dean of a Catholic law school, and is now the president of a United Church of Christ college. I think that is what opening the circle of opportunity is supposed to be about. That is what education is supposed to be about. We should not lose sight of our mission. We should not let all of the difficulties in terms of finances and all of the pressures in terms of the rankings and all of the parents sitting there saying, hey, we need to get into the most selective. We should not lose sight of the fact that we are all together in a common endeavor, and that is to create opportunity for a whole generation of students. And I hope that for all of the difficulties, for all of the challenges, I certainly hope that you won't lose heart. And I certainly hope that you'll continue to work with the same kind of verve and commitment as you have to make that opportunity come true for your students as we try to for ours. So thank you very, very much for having me, and thanks for what you do.